All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a world you probably don't think about much, a world of massive, rusty, industrial scrap. But here's the thing, it's surprisingly valuable. We're going to look at how some seriously cutting-edge AI is turning these old, dusty facilities into, well, digital gold mines. So yeah, let's jump right in. So let me ask you a question. Next time you drive past an old, decommissioned power plant, what do you actually see? You know, is it just a relic, an eyesore? Okay, but what if I told you that hidden inside that crumbling structure, there are potentially tens of millions of dollars? The real question isn't if the money's there, it's how in the world do you get it out? Okay, but before we go on this big treasure hunt, we really need to understand just how big of a challenge this is. I mean, we are talking about literal mountains of scrap metal. And sorting through all that stuff, it's been a huge, huge headache for the recycling industry for decades.
Yeah, for ages, sorting scrap metal has been, well, a dirty, dangerous, and just super inefficient job. Just think about it for a second. A single piece of the wrong material can contaminate an entire batch, and boom, the value just plummets. It's slow, it's expensive, and it's all done by hand. And that manual work, it's not just full of errors, it can be really hazardous for the people doing it.
And all that inefficiency, it adds up. Big time. We're not talking about a few small mistakes here and there. No. Every single error, every piece of valuable metal that doesn't get recovered, every contaminated load, it all means that these companies are literally leaving millions and millions of dollars on the table, just buried in their own scrap heaps. Which brings us right back to one of the biggest jobs of all, tearing down a power plant. And this right here is where that whole idea of hidden value really snaps into sharp focus. So, to really get the stakes here, we have to talk about this thing called scrap value. Now, this is not the pocket change you get for your recycling at home. Oh no. For a huge facility like a power plant, the scrap value is all about the millions of dollars worth of steel, copper, and aluminum that can be salvaged. And that money, it's absolutely vital. It's what's used to help pay for the insane cost of the demolition itself. And it's such a high-stakes game because metal prices, well, they are all over the place, super volatile. Just take a look at steel scrap. I mean, not too long ago, prices swung from about $100 a ton to over $400. Now, imagine you've got thousands of tons of this stuff. That swing, that could mean a multi-million-dollar difference in what you get back, based on nothing more than time. Actually, depending on the project and what the market's doing, that scrap value can cover anywhere from 25% to a full 50% of the entire demolition cost. I mean, that is an enormous financial lever. So you can see, the better you are at getting that value back, the more the whole project even makes sense financially. Okay, so you've got all this value locked up, right? But it's super hard to get to. How do you solve that puzzle? Well, that's where the hero of our story comes in. Welcome to the AI sorting revolution. So how does this AI magic actually work? Well, it's kind of like a three-step dance. First, you have these high-res cameras powered by AI that can see the scrap in ways a human just can't. They're instantly telling the difference between aluminum, copper, steel, you name it. Then, step two, robotic arms, guided by that same AI, jump in and physically sort the stuff at crazy high speeds. This also gets people out of the most dangerous parts of the job. And third, and this is the real game changer, it uses machine learning. The system is always learning, always analyzing data, getting smarter and more accurate with every single piece of metal it sorts. And the results of all this? They're pretty transformative. It sets off this amazing chain reaction of good things. You get more valuable metal back, for one, and that metal is pure, so it sells for a higher price. That, in turn, pushes your operational costs down while making the whole process way, way safer for workers. Oh, and it's also better for the planet, because it lowers the carbon footprint by reducing the need for new mining. And on top of all of that, you're getting all this real-time data to help you make much smarter decisions going forward. All right. I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world? Well, let's take a look at a pretty mind-blowing case study from a power plant they decommissioned down in Oxnard, California. This is where they really put the technology to the test. And wow, The results are just staggering. So on the left side, you've got the estimates they came up with using the old manual way of doing things. But on the right, that's what happened when they used high-tech visual documentation from a firm called Multivista and then fed all that data into an AI platform from PlexifyAEC. Look at this. The accuracy of identifying assets jumped to almost 99%. The hours spent on compliance paperwork slashed. But the biggest number on the screen? The scrap value. It went from an estimated $12.8 million to an incredible $30.7 million. Just let that sink in for a moment. We're talking about a 140% revenue uplift from this one project, a jump to a total recovered value of $30.7 million from one single site, which means the AI basically found an extra $17.9 million. That's money that was just sitting there, hidden in plain sight, all unlocked because the AI could see that scrap heap with a clarity that humans just couldn't. Okay. So this is obviously about way more than just one power plant or even just scrap metal. What this technology is pointing to is a completely new way of managing these huge industrial assets. It's the future, and it's called the digital twin.
You know, there's a great quote from SmarTwin AI, one of the companies really pushing this forward. They say, "We don't just follow the script, we rewrite it." And that just perfectly captures what's happening here. This isn't about making a few little tweaks. It's about totally rewriting the rules for how construction and heavy industry operate. The grand vision, the end goal here, is what some are calling a phygital world. You know, a perfect blend of the physical and the digital. Just imagine an intelligent digital twin for every major building. And we're not just talking about a fancy 3D model. No, this is a living, breathing digital record. It knows every material that went into the building, every repair that's ever been made, every single asset inside. It would track the building's entire life, from the first blueprint all the way to its final demolition. And what that means is, when it's time to take it down, there's no more guesswork. The value isn't hidden anymore. And so that leaves us with one last, pretty fascinating question to think about. We've just seen how AI can look at a pile of industrial junk and find almost $18 million of value that was completely hidden. So what's next? I mean, if this tech can do that, just imagine all the other unseen problems, all the other untapped opportunities, all the other hidden value that's just waiting to be unlocked in pretty much every industry you can think of. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.